Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm excited about gardening this gardening season coming up, and I'm sure that you are too. Gardening in Alaska's cool environment with its long days and our short growing season, it really has its challenges. I've been gardening in Alaska for 8 years, and I grow my vegetables, herbs, and some flowers in either my greenhouse or the hoop house or out in the ground. Here at the homestead, we don't typically garden as a hobby. I garden to be as self-sufficient as we possibly can be and to preserve as much of that food as we can to get us through the winter and into the next season. This time of the year, I normally get a lot of questions about what seed varieties that I plant, what I start. I certainly don't know everything. We're all still learning. But I have figured out over the last 8 years a few things that work for me in my zone, in my environment. I'm in zone anywhere from 3A to 4, and that just depends on the type of summer that we have. A warmer summer would be closer to 4. Cooler summer, of course, closer to 3 in your 3s. When I find varieties that I would like to try in my garden, when I plant them, I save my seed packets every year. That way I don't forget what I planted and what variety it was. So if it doesn't do well, then I know that I'm not going to, be putting a lot of time and effort into that again. And over the 8 years of doing that, I have weeded through seeds that didn't do as well in the garden and seeds that did very well in the garden. I'll be discussing my mainstay seed varieties that I plant, including my cool weather stuff, the stuff I direct seed in the garden, and the warm weather varieties that I grow. I hope this video can maybe help you in choosing a few seed varieties that may work in your area, in your environment here in Alaska. I just hope you enjoyed the video, and thank you for watching. I'm going to start with my cabbage, and this is what I grow is golden acre cabbage. This is a green cabbage. It is an early cabbage. I usually am harvesting this cabbage by the end of July. So I like that because I can start getting, so much my garden doesn't come in at the same time. And they're nice dense heads. I think the biggest head I had last year was 11 pounds when I weighed it, my biggest one. So that's fairly good. But this is a golden acre. I also planted a red cabbage this year. It was called Red Acre. It was a little bit slower to mature compared to the golden acre. Probably about the middle of August it came on to start harvesting. Middle to the end of August. But again, a real nice dense head. It was beautiful. Flavor was wonderful. And this is a new to me cabbage this year. It's called Filderkraut. And this was recommended to me from a friend of mine that lives more up in the interior for Delta Junction. A little bit different growing climate, but I'm going to try it. It's supposed to be really good to make sauerkraut with. So I'm going to give this a try and I'll let you know how it works out. But that's my cabbages. I also plant broccoli, and the only broccoli that I plant is gypsy broccoli. And this I happen to get from Denali Seed. It's very slow to bolt. I never have it bolt on me. It gets nice medium heads, as you can see on the picture. Nice medium-sized heads. It's not real late in the season that it comes on. Then it gets a lot of side shoots, but the side shoots are really nice. They get to be nice size shoots. But it doesn't bolt. I've tried different varieties, and it'll bolt before it ever forms a head. But this does really, really well up here, and I get a lot of produce off of the gypsy broccoli. So this is my go-to and the only broccoli that I plant. This is called broccoli Romanesco. It's not really a broccoli. It doesn't look like a broccoli and it doesn't taste like a broccoli. It's a light green, like a lime green. And it doesn't taste like a cauliflower, but it's sweet. And it's got really good, like, veggie flavor to it. And it's really good in stir fries. It's a later season. You're not going to harvest this in probably till the beginning of September. Hopefully you don't get a freeze by then. This is always a gamble. Actually, I learned of this on mistake. Not my mistake, but I planted cauliflower and it germinated and looked like cauliflower and it grew like cauliflower and big beautiful plants and leaves, but it never got any fruit. And I couldn't figure out why, because usually my cauliflower and broccoli are about the same time on harvest. And I thought, oh, I have no idea what went wrong. I didn't know. Well, then, like in September, beginning of September, these odd heads started coming on. And it was like, I already pulled out half the plants. And it was labeled wrong in my seed packet. There was the wrong seeds in the seed packet. But it turned out good. It turned out that we love this. And I actually planted it again last year, and it did wonderful. And so it's later in the season. If you don't get it can take a little frost, though. I've had frost in my garden as early as August 12th. That froze everything. And then the next year I had a hard frost on August 18th. But the last few years, it's been into about the third week of September before my gardens froze. So that's one. But this can take a little frost. Even if it gets nipped a little bit, it'll still be okay. But it's really good. Cauliflower, last year I planted what's called snowball early, and it grew beautiful plants. Again, it was just sitting there, and it wasn't getting, my broccoli was all done already, and I still didn't have a head of cauliflower. And I'm like, oh no, not again. Well, I'll just leave it in there, learn from the last time. If nothing else, I'll have a lot of Romanesco broccoli, because I was thinking that's what it was, because it looked like it again. But then about the end of August, the heads started coming on. The cauliflower heads started coming on, and it was beautiful. I had beautiful cauliflower. I put 25 pounds in the freezer, but it was late, and it's supposed to be early. But in our season, in this environment that I grow in, it came late. But it was delicious. But I really like my cauliflower to be a little earlier than that. So this year, I'm going to try a different cauliflower, and it's from M.I. Gardner, and it's called South Blanching cauliflower. And what that means is the leaves grow tight around the heads, so they cover the head itself. Because with cauliflower, you have to pull the leaves up and tie them up around the head. Otherwise, the sun has a tendency to turn your cauliflower yellow. It discolors it. And we get so much light up here in our summertime, with 20 hours of light. So I'm hoping I won't have to do that this year. I'm hoping it does it itself. But I will definitely keep you posted on how this does, because this is a new to me variety. Peas, I plant snow peas. I either plant Oregon Giant snow peas or I plant the Mammoth melting snow pea. This year I'm doing the Mammoth melting snow pea. They both do really good. I put them up on a trellis. You can plant these, one of the first things you can put out in the garden. I mean, just as soon as you can get into your dirt, you can plant into your soil, you can plant your peas. Kale is another cool weather crop. I grow two different kinds of kale. This is a seed pack from last year. It's still got some seeds in it. But this variety here is a dwarf blue curled. And I like the curly kale on salads and sandwiches better. Again, this is cool weather. You can plant this early. It does really well. And the other variety that I plant is called a dwarf Siberian. It's not a curly variety. It's got more of a flat leaf. I like this here to dry, and then I dry it like with my herbs, and I use it for seasoning in soups and different things like that. So two different kinds. I eat it two different ways. But kale is a nice plant to plant because it's a long season plant as far as eating. You can start eating it when it's nice and tender early in the season, and then later in the season it might have a little, maybe a bitter taste to it if it gets older leaves on it, and those ones I'll dry. And then in the fall, once it gets frost on it, it actually gets sweeter. And so you can leave your kale out till it snows on it and eat it all along. So this is a really good, has a lot of nutritional value for my garden. It's got a long season and it's good for you. That would be my main, what I call colder weather stuff. What I direct seed in my garden are carrots. I plant 2 varieties of carrots. I plant Scarlet Nantes carrots, and these ones are from Denali seed. They grow to be a nice mid-sized carrot. You can see on the picture. I usually harvest these about mid-September, but you can leave these in the ground till the ground freezes. As long as you can still get them out, they'll be fine. They're sweet because of all the sunlight, so the carrots up here are sweet. A lot of our vegetables have more of a sweet taste. And these do really, really well up here, the Scarlet Nantes. And then I plant Danver 126s. This is a little bit bigger carrot. It gets a little bigger around. And I like this carrot for when I can my brown sugar glazed carrots, because I only want to cut them in half and I want a nice big carrot for that. So I mainly grow them for that particular processing style of my glazed carrots that I can, and they're delicious. Turnips grow really well up here. This is a purple top white globe turnip. It's from Denali seed. It grows quick. You can plant this early in the season. You can eat the greens. A lot of people eat turnip greens. I personally don't eat turnip greens, but my chickens do. I like these for fresh eating. Sometimes I will substitute turnips for potatoes with my meals. You cook them up just like a potato, and you can mash them and put butter and salt and pepper, and they're delicious. I did try canning them. Not so much. I didn't like them. But, they grow really, really well. They grow fast. So these are direct seeded. I'm going to plant some radishes in the garden this year. We're not big radish eaters. I don't care for them at all, and neither does my husband. So normally I don't take up my garden space with things I don't eat. But I have these seeds, and I want to try them. It's an early scarlet globe and a cherry bell. And what I'll do with these is I will donate them to the food pantry. I'll feed greens to my chickens, and then I'll donate the produce, because we don't eat them. But I have the seeds, and I just don't want them to sit and get old and go to waste. So I'm going to plant those. Lettuces. This is my all-time favorite lettuce, and it's Butter Crunch head lettuce. And I love this on salad. This is a type of lettuce that you buy in the store that's usually in a little plastic container. And sometimes it'll even have a little root on the bottom of it, and it's a head. That's what that is. It's expensive in the store, but it's delicious. Last year, I tried 2 different things with this when I planted it. I started some inside in pots for individual plants, probably in the beginning of May, so they had about a month's growth on them. And then I transplanted them out into the garden. And then I direct seeded part of a row like I would normally always did. And I think I like the starting them ahead of time better, because I got better heads. So I think that's what I'm going to do from now on, is do that, is start these ahead of time. Delicious. And it grows so good up here. And it's slow to bolt. The lettuce does, I've not had this bolt on me. Another type of lettuce that I plant is romaine lettuce. I don't have my seed packet handy, but it's Prairie Isle, and I'll put that on the screen. It grows really, really nice up here, and it's nice and delicious. Again, a long season plant like the kale. So those are my 2 mainstay lettuces that I plant in my garden, is the Butterhead Crunch and the Prairie Isle romaine. I've also, in the past, I've done like a red lettuce. I like the red lettuce. I don't like it in the garden because it seems to get slimy next to the dirt. I just don't care for how that does that. But what I've done with this, and this is another video, if I get it set up, I'll do a video on it, is I grow this hydroponic in a swimming pool. It works really well. But that's for another day. If I get it set, last year I didn't get it set up. If I get it set up this year, I'll do a video on it, and I'll show you how I do that. But that's the lettuces that I grow. I planted artichokes last year. They're an interesting little plant. First time I ever started them, they're a 2-year plant. They're a biennial plant. Normally, you would plant them and grow them. They grow like a thistle, and they're picky and everything. Just they're in the thistle family. And you would grow them the first year, cut them down, winter them over, and grow them the second year. In the second year, they'll flower or get the artichoke. They won't winter over up here. So I got the seeds and I did some research, and you can trick them. I started my seeds and I had little plants up about, I don't know, so high. And it says to expose them to 40 to 50 degree temperature for 10 days. And I did that. I set them outside when the temperature got there, chilled them for the 10 days, and I brought them back in the house, and they fell over and died. I mean, they just withered away and died, and they were gone. And I was like, well, kill that. And I just set the pots to the side, and about a week or so later, I happened to notice in the pot that there was little green shoots coming up out of the pot. So I was like, great. So I set them back up on the shelf, and they come back with a vengeance. I mean, they just grew and grew and grew. I put them out in the garden, and I grew them, and I had artichokes. Because as a seedling, if you chill them when they're young, they think they've went through the cold season, and then you bring them back into the warm. It tricks them, and it worked. So I had artichokes, and I'll do that again this year. But I won't plant them as early as I started them last year. It says that it could take up to 30 days to germinate these seeds, and they were up in 4 days. And a thistle plant is a lot to manage underneath of a grow light. But these were fun. And then I do celery. I've grown Utah tall celery. I've grown it from Denali seed, which is fine. This year I ordered the seeds from M.I. Gardner. I'm going to try his seeds on it. The problem I've had with my celery is it grows beautiful plants. It looks beautiful. It's up tall, just like it says, it gets tall, and bushy leaves on it, and it looks beautiful, but the stalks are hollow, and I'm not sure why. 3 years now, and they're hollow, and you could use it like a straw. So if anybody has any ideas about why my celery would be hollow in the inside, if you have any tips, you can put them in the comments. I would greatly appreciate that. Even if they're hollow, I use the leaves, and I dry them, and I use them for a seasoning. So all is not lost. I continue to grow them because I like the leaves. I use them like a herb, and dry them and season my stuff with them. But if anybody's got any tips on celery, let me know. Let's see. This year I'm going to try and grow some fennel. I've never grown fennel. It's a new to me. It says it grows like dill. Again, if anybody has any tips or tricks about fennel, let me know. But like I said, this is new to me, so I won't be able to tell you how this did until in the fall. So I'll see if I'll plant it again. And then my warm weather stuff, what I call warm weather stuff, is stuff that either I grow in the greenhouse or I grow in the hoop house that needs warmer temperatures. Maybe I can extend the season in the greenhouse or the hoop house. So I grow peppers. Last year I grew these Keystone giant bell peppers. They did fabulous. And I grew them in my hoop house. And I have a 40-foot hoop, kind of like a high tunnel. And they did really well in there, so those I'll plant again. The banana peppers did really good in there again. These were in the hoop. They did fairly good. I actually canned some pickled peppers and like them on sandwiches and salads. So those did really well. I planted jalapenos. The jalapeno peppers looked great, but they weren't hot. It kind of tasted like a jalapeno flavor, but no heat. But I'll try them again because they grew really good. The cayennes, I grew quite a few of these last year. They're called cayenne long slims. I grew a lot of them for my chickens. The chickens like them, and they're good for them. So I grew them for that. And then I tried something on the peppers. Is, you know, when you go to the store, you can get that little pack of peppers that comes in that little Ziploc bag, and they're small peppers, but they're all different colors. Well, I saved some of those seeds, and those are called lunchbox peppers. So if you're looking for lunchbox peppers, that's what those would be. And I planted them last year, and they grew great. And they grew great peppers, and they're sweet. I have red pepper. I had red ones and orange ones that I did, and I had a lot of them, and they grew wonderful. And I used them in the salsa. I like mild salsa, and I used them in that, and they're delicious. My husband likes the hot salsa, so that's why I grew some hotter peppers, for that. But it was a nice little experiment. I'll plant them again this year. They work great. Zucchinis, these last year I grew in pots, and I had them in the hoop. And then if it would get really nice out and we'd have a warm stretch of weather, I'd set them outside in the pot. I got lots and lots of zucchini. I had 2 plants, and I had them in a big pot, probably a 10-gallon pot or 8-gallon pot, something like that. And they did really, really well. Made sure that I pollinated them. I hand pollinated them because we don't got a lot of pollinators here. But they're Black Beauty zucchini, which did really good for me. I had more than I could ever use. Cucumbers, I planted in my hoop. I didn't read my package. I didn't read the description of the cucumbers well enough when I ordered them. These were from Denali Seed. These are delicious cucumbers, by the way. They make fantastic pickles. It says for warm locations in greenhouses. So I was thinking, because they were for greenhouses, that they were the type that you didn't have to pollinate, that they would be self-pollinating. There's a word for that, and I can't think of it right now. It'll come to me, and I'll put it on the video. But these you have to pollinate, and once I got the seed and read closer about them, that yes, they do need pollinating. So I was trying to hand pollinate them, and I was only getting about 30% that would take. And then once the fireweed bloomed and the bees showed up, then the bees started pollinating them, and then they did good. They got really good flavor, but you have to pollinate these. This is a true cucumber that you don't need to pollinate. It's called Little Leaf H19. I'll be planting that again this year. And these get real small. Little cucumbers are kind of spiny a little bit, but they're good. They're not as good as the modern earlies, but I'll get a better harvest because of the pollinators up here. And then I ordered another type of seed that doesn't need to be pollinated, and it's called a Max Pack hybrid cucumber, and I got it from Seed King Express. And these don't need the pollinators, so I'm going to try these, and I'll let you know how they go. Another thing I plant in my tunnel is green beans, and the type of green beans that I grow are called contenders. I've tried the Blue Lakes providers, and I found that I like a bush bean, that the contenders do really well up here, and I get a really good harvest off of them. I canned about 45 quarts of beans off of my contender beans last year, so for me that's a success. Then tomatoes. This year I'm going to start some Roma tomatoes. I've never grown Roma tomatoes up here, but I'm going to start some and see what I can get them to do, because I do have the greenhouse and I have the hoop house. So this is a paste tomato for canning, cooking, stuff like that. So I'll keep you posted on how those do. I like to grow a Tiny Tim tomato because I put them in hanging baskets in my greenhouse, and I just let them trail down. And I like little salad tomatoes and just to eat them while I'm out there. But these are called Tiny Tims, and they're really good. You get a lot of them. They're real prolific. My main tomatoes that I grow, I acquired some tomato seeds from another gardener up here in Alaska that acquired them from somebody in Canada that has been working on a colder weather plant that will ripen out in the garden without the use of a greenhouse. And I got some seeds, and I started them probably 5 years ago. And they're an heirloom, so you save your seeds. And they do grow really good out in the garden. And they do ripen in the garden without a greenhouse. So I grow them in my greenhouse. I grow some in my hoop house, and I grow them outside. I grow them in 3 different environments. And last year we had an average summer here last year. Not too hot, not too cold. It was just an average Alaskan summer for our zone. And there wasn't a lot of difference between how the plants did in the hoop, in the greenhouse, or outside. And they're a Russian variety of tomato. They get beautiful plants, as you can see on the, I got a picture posted for you. They ripen beautifully. They're great for I make sauce out of them. I can them whole. I make ketchup. I make salsa. We eat them fresh. They're a real meaty tomato. I love them. Those are my mainstay tomatoes. I probably plant 100 plants of them. They're a determinate tomato, so they don't get crazy on you. And it had over 100 really nice tomatoes on it. You can see in the picture. They were really nice sized tomatoes on them. And so I save seeds from that, and I label them tomato from the 100 plus plant. Plant these first. Because I only save seeds from the plants that do the best, that have the most tomatoes on them, and the biggest tomatoes on them. Because I'm trying to further cultivate the tomato seeds to have better and better plants every year, you know, that produce more and bigger fruit on them. And so these are the ones I'll start, and I'll start these probably mid-March. I'll start them in the house, and then they'll be ready to go out. But these are kind of my babies. We did that. I also grow herbs. I'm getting more and more into the herbs. I grow parsley. This is a triple curl. It's a curly parsley. Grows really, really good. I grew it in the greenhouse, but not this year. I'm going to try it out in the garden. I grow tarragon. This is a Russian tarragon, and this is from Mountain Valley Seeds. I grew this in a pot last year, and it did okay, but I've noticed that you can grow this. I'm going to grow this out in my regular garden, my outside garden, and from what I'm understanding and what I've seen from other gardeners up here, this overwinters and comes back. So I'm going to be trying that for the tarragon. I grow rosemary. I got several different kinds of basil that I'm going to be growing this year. This is a dwarf Greek basil. Last year I grew that's from M.I. Gardner. Last year I grew a large leaf Italian. It's a good basil. It's a little strong, but it was good. It was good. This year I'm going to grow lemon basil. I love me some lemon basil, so I'm going to try that. Oregano. I'm waiting to see if my oregano overwinters. See if it comes up this spring, but I'm going to start some just in case it doesn't. I dry all these herbs and then use them for seasoning. Thyme. I'm going to try some French thyme this year. Last year I did the vulgaris thyme, and it did really good. But I'm going to plant this, plus I'm going to try some French thyme this year and see. And lemon balm. Lemon balm won't overwinter up here, but it grows fantastic all summer long. And it smells so good. I put it in the greenhouse, and I planted it closer to the door because my husband smells it all the time, so he could get a whiff of it when he would go out there. But I love the lemon balm. I make lemon balm salves. I make tea with it. I dry it. It's fantastic. I plant chamomile. I have an organic German chamomile. It's from organic seed. First time I planted this, I thought, well, I'll put a little row out in the garden and have pretty little flowers out there. You need to plant this where you can control it. This is like an invasive weed. I'm still picking it out of my garden years later. It just overtook everything. And if you get it in your carrots, you can't tell the difference between your carrots coming up and the chamomile coming up. It was a nightmare. So this goes only in pots. And I don't plant it in anything but a pot because I control where this baby goes. Like I said, it's like invasive weed, but it's really good. Peppermint, my peppermint did beautiful up here. I'm waiting to see if it overwinters. I'm hoping it'll overwinter. Again, I make teas and seasoning and stuff like that out of that. But I got in the garden, I've got feverfew that I planted last year, that I got started last year. That'll come back this year, and it grew beautiful. If I get a picture, I'll put it up for you. I use that for I get migraines, and I make a tea out of it, and it's a migraine prevention herb for some holistic stuff. Well, let's talk onions. I grow a lot of onions. I usually plant 250 to 275 onions, not sets. I use plants. A little bit about onions is, in the north, you need a long day variety. A short day variety won't do good up here, so you always got to check, make sure you're buying a long day variety for the north. I used to start them from seeds, and the time that it takes to grow them, because we're off grid, and you need to start them in January. And it's a lot of extra time to run on my off-grid system to run lights, grow lights. And so I found a place to get onions from, and it is I get my onions from Dixondale Farms. They're not sets. They're started plants. They're onion plants, but they're beautiful. You get them and you order them, and then they'll ship. You pick your ship date, and I always pick the latest ship date, which is around the middle of May. And then my onions will come, and then I just have to hold them for about a week or so before I can get them out in the garden, because you can plant onions fairly early. But I love them, and it's so much easier. And the more you buy, the cheaper they get. I think I paid $8.50 last year for a bundle, because I order more. And you get about 4 dozen plants in a bundle. So that's like 48 plants for $8.50. I think they're $9 this year. I think they went up just a hair, but I'll still buy them. Some people say that this variety, this is an Alyssa Craig, that this variety if you look it up, it'll say it doesn't store well. For me, these store beautiful. I've got these are onions that I've grown. These are my last year onions, some of them. But look at them, aren't they beautiful? These were harvested the end of August, and I let them dry. The key is to drying them good. But if you look, see, they're as firm can be. And we're in the middle of January. Now, according to what you read about this particular onion, it shouldn't hold this long. Last year, I had onions for 9 months. And the only reason I didn't have them after that is because I ran out of them. For me anyway, these onions hold absolutely beautiful. See, they're still really nice and firm. They're beautiful. But that's what I do is I order them from Dixondale Farms. I order not sets, started plants. Because what happens with an onion is a biennial plant. It's a 2-year plant. The first year, when you get a set, that's a second-year plant you're planting. They start the onions, and they grow little bulbs, let the bulbs grow little, and they pull them out, and they dry them, and the next year they sell them for sets. And then you plant them, and they start growing, but their main focus is to go to seed and not put the bulb on. Where the first year of an onion, their main focus is to put bulb on, winter over, and the second year go to seed. So by starting your plants from seed and not planting sets and doing seeds instead, you're letting that plant grow how it wants to the first year, and that is to get a bigger bulb, let the bulb grow. Onions get about 13 leaves, so 13 leaves on them. And you want as many leaves on your onions as you can get. And you want your leaves to be as big as you can get them. Because every leaf on the onion, on the plant, is a round on the onion, on the bulb. And the thicker the green, the stalk, your leaves are, the thicker that round of your onion is. And you put that together and it makes for a bigger onion. The more rounds you get on the onion and the thicker the round is on the onion, the bigger the onion gets. So, that's a kind of a little backstory on my onions. But like I said, I grow a lot of onions. I store them. This is the only variety of onion I have. They're a sweet onion. And I'll have the name of them on the screen for you. But they're wonderful. I highly recommend them. And then the next thing we're going to do is potatoes. I plant potatoes. Been planting two varieties of potatoes. I plant a red potato, which has a nice white flesh. These are chieftains. I've been growing chieftains for 2 years now. The reason I'm growing the chieftains is because that's what I can get locally in my area. I like Norlands. If I could absolutely have my choice and everything was available, I'd plant Norland Reds. And the reason I like the red potatoes so much is, one, the flavor is fantastic, but they can really well. Here are reds that I canned. When you can them, I don't peel them because I do them fresh, and I just scrub them, and most of the peeling comes off anyway, but I'm not peeling those potatoes because I can them fresh. And this is what they look like canned. The peelings don't stay red when you can them. They lose their color. But look at how beautiful they are. They're not mushy. They're not, they can really nice. I've tried canning other potatoes, Yukon Golds and stuff, and I just don't like them canned because they don't stay firm enough. And I also make French fries out of the red potatoes. Then I have been growing Yukon Golds. Yukon Golds grow fantastic up here. I get a lot of, I think I planted last year. This to me is a softer potato. It doesn't hold up as well to canning, and I didn't care for how it froze for my French fries. But what I do with them is I make mashed potatoes. I cook them up and make them just like you're going to serve them for dinner. I put whatever you put in your mashed potatoes. I put milk and butter and salt and pepper and whatnot in my mashed potatoes. And then I cool them off and I put them in freezer bags and I freeze them. And I have mashed potatoes for all year. And when you thaw them out, you can't tell the difference. They freeze so well. So that's a lot what I use and they got kind of a yellowish white flesh. This one had a little spot in the middle, so I cut it out, sorry. But they got, a clear, not a white flesh, but a little bit of a yellow flesh to them. But I like these for like mashed potatoes and things like that. So that is my potatoes that I plant. As you can see, I save seeds. These are marigold seeds. Most of them are. These are all marigold seeds from my plants last year. I grow pots of these. I plant them in my peppers. I plant them around my cabbages. I plant them around most of the stuff in my garden. So I grow a lot of marigolds. And marigold seeds are so easy to save. You just let them dry out, take the seeds out of the flower heads. But I plant a lot of marigolds. I also plant some calendula or calendula. People pronounce it both ways. I saved some seeds from that, and I'll be planting that. This I like to harvest for herb. I make salves. So as the garden season gears up, I'll be taking you along with me from starting seeds all the way through preserving the harvest. So join us here at the Homestead for the 2025 growing season. And thank you for coming along with us, and thank you for watching.